What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon. It's the beginning of the summer tour, sort of, slightly. This is going to be the first game of the July internationals. This is a preview video that we do on the channel where we chuck on a game of Rugby 20 in the background of the teams that are going to be playing, and then over the top we talk about the official teams named. So this one's going to be England versus Scotland. Of course, England not licensed in this game. I have my created England team. It's rated slightly lower so that we're going to play as them, make it a bit more fun in the background. So let's get this game kicked off and talk about these teams. Alrighty, so George Ford is going to get us kicked off and underway. Not that he's going to be playing in the actual game. I feel like I've already watched this game, mainly because I've just finished watching the under-20s games, England versus Scotland. And of course, England will be wanting to replicate what the under-20s partnership did. They had a really good game. They got away with yellow cards and red cards and still came out very much on top in that game. So well done to them. But looking forward to this game, both teams not having the full list of players they would want. Some off with the Lions. There's been issues at club level not being able to release them because of semi-finals and finals. We did do videos covering both the England squad and Scotland squad announcements when they were first made, but obviously since then there's been a few changes because players have become more available with the semi-finals and stuff finishing, and then going more forwards from this, they will be allowed to have even more players in their teams. But looking at this game in particular, this is going to be a reserve list basically, so they're not going to be a full strength teams, but seeing as we are playing as Scotland, oh no we're not, we're playing as England. Let's start off by talking about the England team. So England, of course, not having the greatest Six Nations. In fact, it might actually have been their worst Six Nations. I'm not 100% sure if it is actually their official worst one, but it was definitely not the best. Let's see if we can get Johnny May in here. Oh, we got shut down at the end there. So they'll be wanting to improve from that. And of course, the reserve list, Eddie Jones has already spoken a lot about. He's going to be hacking 30% of that team out at least, leading up to the next World Cup. So he's got to try and put a new team together. So this is where a group of youngsters is going to come in. So we'll start off looking at these forwards. So in the front row here, Ellis Genge coming in as a vice captain, which is a big call. You know, he's quite a hot-headed player. Can be a little bit rough around the edges, gives away quite a few penalties. So as a vice captain, big call, but definitely got the experience out of most of these lads that you're going to see in this front row here. Curtis Langley is going to take over the hooker position, and Joe Hayes. I'm not even going to pretend to be the most knowledgeable on an awful lot of the club level players that are uncapped. There are going to be quite a lot of uncapped players in this. As we said, the original squad announcement was something like 21 uncapped players. So there's definitely going to be a few uncapped in here. Harry Wells is going to take over in that lock department at 4. And Charlie Ewells is a name we haven't heard for a long time, going to be taken over in that 5 shirt. So of course, no Maro Itoje. Going to be off with the Lions, and of course is still involved in some of his club level as well. Looking at that back row, Lewis Ludlow, who's going to take over as the captain. It's nice to see him getting that little step up. The captaincy in England has always been a little bit singled out, really, going along the lines of people like Farrell taking over as captains. This is nice to allow Eddie Jones to create a slightly different team and have a look at the extra players he has available to him. Who's going to take that leadership role? Who's going to take that captaincy role? I would imagine Genge probably has more caps than Ludlow, but it's nice to see him. He's going to be able to have two people trying to get in for that captaincy role looking forward. Ben Curry taking over in the other flanker department, of course, the brother of the more probably well-known Tom Curry. We get to see him so much in that England team off with the Lions as well himself. And finally in that number 8, Callum Chick. So we're looking forward to seeing a lot of these big boys. Quite a lot of size in this number 8 pack, to be fair. They're all going to be looking to do well in the scrums. Anyone who did actually watch the under-20s games, as Henry Slade here. Can he make it all the way to the corner? Looking good. The under-20s team was looking really good, especially in terms of their breakdown area. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on a lot of these boys, of course, missing people like Itoje and Tom Curry, who are so good in the breakdown. He hasn't gone for Sam Underhill in there as well. So jackling threats, not too numerous in here, so it's going to be fun to see how the team can adapt as well with the Eddie Jones style going on here. Let's look a little bit further towards the backs. Harry Randall taking over at 9, so it's a name a couple of people might know of. Harry Randall, of course, has played a long time in that scrum half shirt, so it'll be nice to see him getting in this England team a little bit more. Jacob Umunga is a name I don't know specifically. Hopefully he can play well at fly half. Dan Kelly and Ollie Lawrence going to be the centre partnership. Ollie Lawrence unfortunately didn't have the best Six Nations. He just couldn't quite get going. They didn't have a lot of time on the ball anytime he was put on. He only played the sort of last few minutes of the game. He just really couldn't get going. It was a bit of a shame for him. I definitely want to see a little bit more from Ollie Lawrence. That begins to open up. And finally in that back 3, Max Malin's going to be taken over in the left wing. A lot of times we've seen him recently taken over in that full back position, mainly because Elliot Daly wasn't playing at the top standard. But Max Mailer's moving on to that left wing. It'll be nice to see him there. He's definitely got some good speed on him. Adam Radwan has been a big talking point leading up to this tour, so I'm sure he'll be wanting to get quite impressive in there, especially with some of the England wingers not performing to their best standard. This could be a chance for you to step up. And finally, Freddie Stewart there in that full-back position. So, across the board, looking good as a team. We'll quickly check out the replacements. Jamie Blamire, not 100% sure on that one. Beno Abano, someone we didn't get to see an awful lot at all in the Six Nations. Was really looking forward to him coming through in that prop position, and just, again, another one, just didn't get underway in that Six Nations. It was a real shame for him. I think he's a really good player. We just don't get to see enough of him. I'm surprised. Maybe it's because of Ellis Genge is going to be in there, that Beno Abano's not going to be starting there, but it'd be nice to see a Beno Abano get some good time on in this game. Trevor Davison taking over in the other prop department there. Ted Hill is going to come on at some point, no doubt, along with Lewis Ludlam. I mean, the flanker and lock departments are relatively well covered. I think there's going to be quite a lot of interchangeability there. Lewis Ludlam is quite a good name in there, to be fair. Be able to play both if you need him to. Dan Robson there at scrum half, probably one of the most capped players on this team. So they've definitely gone for youth and inexperience. Probably in the starting 15 more, and then they're going to put on some higher capped reserves going in here. So Dan Robson will come on, just settle that ship down a bit in that second half, probably, if it's not going England's way. George Furbank at the number 22 shirt, who will probably come on, probably at fly half. I believe he can play fly half or fullback. Someone can correct me down in the comments if I'm not right on that. I believe he can play both. I do like George Furbank, actually. I think Eddie Jones is really beginning to lean a lot more towards him as the tournaments are slowly progressing now. He's looking forward to that World Cup, so I think he'll be looking more towards that direction. And finally, Joe, I pronounce it Kokanasinger. A couple of people did drop comments that it's like Thokanasinger, which I have also heard the pronunciation for. I'm not actually sure what the 100% correct one is. When he first entered this England team back in sort of 2018, 2019, I definitely heard the pronunciation Kokanasinger. But since then, I have heard commentators say Thokanasinger. I'm not sure why a COK sound makes a TH. Drop it down in the comments the best way to pronounce that. I'm always looking to learn and improve my pronunciation of people's names. But someone we've not seen a lot of in this England team, I think the last time he was officially in the England team was that 2019 World Cup squad. So it's going to be nice to see him coming back in. Very aggressive player going forwards. A couple of people have mentioned to me about his defensive stature, not necessarily the best, and certainly not great on the high ball. So he's a bit of a one-dimensional player going forwards, but he is one of those players that can play both wing and you sort of utilise him as a forward. Not afraid to get himself in a maul. I believe I've even seen him in a scrum at one point when there's been yellow and red card situations. So he's a big boy. He'll do well. In fact, here he goes down the wing. He actually nearly managed to score a try in there as well. But I think he's a very good player. He just needs to work on his all-round gameplay. Especially in that defensive element, I think will be a big thing for him, especially with Anthony Watson doing so well on that right wing in the last Six Nations. He's going to be looking to fight for that shirt to get it back, so it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. But the England team, considering the sort of limits they've been given with the number of players missing out from club level and on the Lions, it's not a bad team. I think they'll be able to work quite well. There's definitely still some big names. Eddie Jones won't want to be losing any of these games by any means, even with some uncapped players coming in here, but it will be nice to see how they gel together and see who can perform, especially going forwards into the tournament even after this Scotland game. Talking of which, we have mentioned the Scotland team, so we are already in the 50-minute mark. We're about to take another conversion. I've been missing all of these conversions for anyone who's been paying attention to the game in the background. So we will move on and we will talk a little bit about this Scotland team. So, the Scotland team has had a few issues, to say the least, leading up to this game. Basically, they had their team announce their sort of Scotland A team. They were going to be announcing it on the same day as England. They haven't been able to because of big impacts through COVID stuff that's been going on in their camps. They've lost a lot of players, so they've had to change their team up. So, we will go through their team, but there's going to be a lot that I probably can't comment on that much. So, let's check out the front row here. So, we start off at the front here. Ewan Ashman's going to go in that hooker position, of course, so we're not going to see any David Cherry in there, which was a bit of a shame. I was hoping to see him, or George Turner not in there. Ollie Kebble's taking over in that tight head position as it's starting, so that's nice, because I do like Ollie Kebble to see him in there. You'll also notice in this sort of front eight here, people like Jamie Ritchie not in there, Matt Fagerson not in there, so they're definitely missing a couple of huge names in this team. Cameron Henderson and Kieran McDonald are going to take over in that lock department. Josh Bayliss, Magnus Bradbury, who I actually think we've seen play before for Scotland, if I'm not mistaken. That name absolutely rings a bell. And Rory Darge will take over in that flanker position. So Josh Bayless got a hard job to live up to. He's going to be taking over from Jamie Ritchie, who of course was named as captain for this team, but won't be going on anymore. So we'll see how they get on, but this is definitely going to be a very new team going in. I believe they brought in 7 new players after this sort of COVID outbreak hit. They had to drop out players. There was question whether this game was even going to go ahead. So it's going to be a bit of an issue for them. Let's check out the back super quickly. Charlie Shields going to be taking over in that scrum half position. There's not going to be any Ali Price, obviously, off with the Lions. Ross Thompson taking over in that 10, which is a big call. I did think maybe Adam Hastings would start. He is named on the bench, but they're going to give Ross Thompson the go. So, similar to England, they're going to go for the sort of youth and inexperience to begin with, and then probably put on higher-end players later on. Blair Kinghorn takes over in that left wing, tried and tested. We know how good Blair Kinghorn can be, although I tend to prefer him in the fullback position, but we'll see how he gets on. Stafford McDowell and Matt Scott taking over in that centre partnership. Matt Scott taking over as the captain for this game now with no Jamie Ritchie in. Big call, big pressure on him. Hopefully he can live up to it. Rufus McLean taking over on that right wing. No one like Darcy Graham, unfortunately, on that right wing for them. And finally, Damien Hoyland takes over that fullback position. So, new team, youthful team. Who knows how this is going to go? It's going to be a really exciting game between these two teams. We are getting near to the end of the game here. We'll quickly check out the replacements down the bottom there. Not a lot of huge names in there, so this is where you're going to find probably a lot of the uncapped players there. One of the big names there, though, George Taylor and Adam Hastings. Both looking for it. Look at Henry Slade go here. What a run in the background here. Adam Hastings is going to be looking to get on that field at some point. Can play fly half, can play fullback. So I'm sure at some point we'll see him, and I imagine that's why they've started him on the bench. That way they can chuck him on wherever they need him to, depending on injuries and tiredness and what have you. But I reckon he might come on in that fly half position just because they'll want to still get a win against this England team. But with so many players out, it's going to be interesting to see how they get on. Quickly before the game ends here, we'll take this kick. I've been not the best. Oh, there we are. That's about right for me. Prediction for this game, going to be a tough one to call. A lot of new players, a lot of new entities coming in here. For me, I'm going to call an England win. I think I'm going to go England by 15, but I'm just one guy on the internet, guys, so make sure you drop down in the comments who you think's going to win, what you think the scoreline will be, how do you think it's going to go. I think it's going to be a really fun game to watch. I'm looking forward to this summer tour. I hope you've all enjoyed today, guys. If you have, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.